Tom lived in a small farmhouse on the edge of a quiet town. His days were filled with hard work in the fields, caring for his animals and fixing broken tools. Life was simple and peaceful, though sometimes a little lonely. Tom did not complain. He liked the fresh air, the smell of the soil after rain, and the open sky at night. For him, the stars were always a mystery, shining above like silent watchers. One evening, after a long day of work, Tom sat on his porch with a mug of warm tea. The night was clear, and the stars looked brighter than usual. He leaned back, resting his tired muscles, when suddenly he noticed something strange in the sky. A light, brighter than any star, was moving fast. At first he thought it was just a falling star, but it did not burn out. Instead, it grew larger, brighter, and closer. The light cut across the sky and vanished behind the trees of the nearby forest. The ground shook slightly, and a faint echo of a crash reached Tom's ears. He stood at once, his heart beating fast. Something had fallen, and it was not ordinary. Curiosity burned inside him. He took a lantern, grabbed his coat, and began walking toward the forest. The night air was cool, and the sound of crickets filled the silence. The path was rough, but Tom knew every tree and stone around his land. As he went deeper into the woods, he saw a faint glow between the trees. It pulsed like a heartbeat, strange and unnatural. When Tom finally reached the clearing, he froze in surprise. A small craft, unlike anything built on Earth, lay broken among the fallen branches. Its surface was smooth and silver, shining faintly even in the dark. Smoke rose from cracks in its side, and sparks hissed in the air. Tom's first thought was that it might be a secret military machine. But then he heard a sound from inside, a soft cry almost like a human voice. Without thinking, he stepped closer. The craft's door had burst open, and two figures were struggling to move out. They looked like young women, but their appearance was unusual. Their eyes glowed faintly in the lantern light, and strange marks ran along their arms, glowing like thin lines of fire. Their clothes were torn, and they looked weak, as if they had traveled far. Tom rushed forward. "Are you hurt?" he asked in a steady voice. The girls looked at him with fear at first. They seemed unsure if he was a friend or enemy. Tom raised his hands to show he meant no harm. Slowly, one of them spoke. Her voice was soft but carried a strange accent. "We need help," Tom nodded quickly. "Come with me. My home is near. You can rest there." The girls exchanged a glance and then allowed him to help them up. One leaned on his shoulder while the other followed behind, limping slightly. Tom could feel how light they were, almost too light for normal humans, but he said nothing. The walk back to the farmhouse was slow. Tom guided them carefully, watching their pale faces under the lantern glow. He could see their eyes darting around, alert to every sound in the dark forest. It was clear they were not ordinary travelers. When they finally reached the farmhouse, Tom opened the door and led them inside. The warm light of the fire welcomed them. He pulled two chairs near the hearth and helped them sit. Then he hurried to bring water and bread from the kitchen. The girls ate quickly, as if they had not eaten in days. Their strange marks glowed faintly while they chewed, but Tom pretended not to notice. He only asked gently, "What are your names?" The one with long, dark hair answered first. "Mira," she said. The other, with lighter hair and sharper eyes, spoke next. "Aaliyah," Tom nodded. "I am Tom. You can stay here until you are better." They looked at him with surprise, as if they did not expect kindness. Mira's eyes softened, and she whispered, "Thank you." After they finished eating, Tom gave them blankets and showed them a small guest room. The house was old but warm, and the wooden walls kept out the cold night air. Mira and Aaliyah lay down with tired bodies, their eyes heavy with exhaustion. Tom stood at the doorway for a moment, watching them. He still did not understand who they were or where they came from, but he felt something inside him, a sense of duty to protect them. He quietly closed the door and returned to the fireplace. Later that night, as Tom sat alone, he thought about the glowing craft in the forest. It was not something he could explain to anyone. If the townsfolk learned about it, fear would spread quickly. People might even call the authorities. Tom shook his head. No, he would keep this secret. For now, Mira and Aaliyah were safe under his roof. In the guest room, the two alien girls whispered to each other in a language Tom could not understand. Mira's voice was weak but determined. "We must not tell him yet," she said in their tongue. "He thinks we are only lost travelers." "It is safer that way," Aaliyah nodded. Her sharp eyes glowed in the dark. "Yes, if he knew what we truly are, he might fear us. For now we rest. But soon we must move again. The night passed quietly with the stars watching from above. Tom slept lightly, his thoughts filled with questions. Who were these girls? Why did their craft crash near his land? And why did their eyes shine like fire in the dark? He did not know that the answer was far beyond anything he imagined. For now he was only a kind farmer who had opened his door to two strangers. Yet this simple act of kindness would change not only his life, but the fate of many others. As dawn began to rise, Tom stepped outside to the fields. The sun touched the horizon and the air was fresh. He looked back at the small farmhouse, knowing that inside slept two beings not from this world. He felt both fear and wonder. He did not know their secret, but something told him his quiet life would never be the same again. The morning sun rose over the fields, painting the land with gold. Tom was already at work carrying feed for his chickens. His mind was busy with thoughts of Mira and Aaliyah, the strange girls who now slept under his roof. He still could not believe what had happened the night before. A ship from the sky, glowing marks on their arms and eyes that seemed too bright to be human. Tom did not know what story to tell the neighbors if they asked. For now, he hoped no one would notice the broken trail in the forest. He decided to keep the girls hidden until they were strong enough to leave. When he returned inside, Mira and Aaliyah were already awake. They sat at the kitchen table, sipping water from wooden cups. They looked healthier in the daylight, though their strange eyes still caught his attention. "Did you sleep well?" Tom asked kindly. Mira nodded with a gentle smile. "Yes, your home is warm. Thank you." Aaliyah said little, but her sharp eyes studied the room as if searching for hidden dangers. Tom found her quietness uneasy, but he reminded himself that they were strangers in a new world. They must be frightened. Breakfast was simple: bread, eggs, and milk from his cow. The girls ate quickly, almost too quickly. Tom laughed softly. "You eat like you have not seen food in days." Mira lowered her head. "We have been traveling for long. It is hard to explain." Tom did not push. Instead, he showed them around the farmhouse. He pointed out the barn, the chicken coop, and the small garden. Mira seemed curious about everything. She touched the soil in the garden and smiled as if she felt something special in it. Aaliyah, however, remained distant. She walked with careful steps, scanning the land like a soldier guarding a gate. Later that day, Tom worked on fixing a broken wooden beam in the barn. He lifted one end, but it was too heavy for him alone. He was about to fetch tools when Mira stepped forward. "Let me help," she said. Tom almost laughed. "This beam is heavy. You should not strain yourself." But before he could stop her, Mira bent down, gripped the beam with her slender hands, and lifted it with surprising ease. Tom's mouth fell open. She carried the beam across the barn and set it down as if it weighed nothing. Tom stared. "How did you do that?" Mira looked nervous. "I am stronger than I appear." Aaliyah's sharp eyes flickered. "Do not ask too many questions," she warned. Her voice was firm, almost commanding. Tom raised his hands in peace. "All right, I will not ask. But you both are not ordinary, that much is clear." The girls said nothing more, but Tom could not forget what he had seen. That night, the weather turned rough. Thick clouds rolled across the sky, and the wind howled against the farmhouse. Tom secured the animals in the barn and closed all windows. Mira stood outside, watching the storm with an unusual calmness. "Come inside before the rain," Tom called, but Mira shook her head. Her glowing eyes looked up at the storm. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. Then something unbelievable happened. Mira raised her hand toward the sky. A bolt of lightning struck downward, but instead of hitting the ground, it bent away from the house. The crackling energy twisted in the air and vanished into the clouds again. Tom stood frozen in shock. "What did you just do?" he whispered. Mira turned toward him with a soft smile. "I only asked the storm to be gentle." Tom stepped back. "That is not possible. No human can do such a thing." Aaliyah appeared at the door, her face stern. "She is not human. Neither of us are." The truth hung heavy in the air, though the full meaning still escaped Tom. He wanted to ask more, but Mira placed a hand on his arm. "Please trust us. We are not here to harm you." Tom looked into her glowing eyes. They held no malice, only exhaustion and a quiet sadness. Slowly he nodded. "I trust you. But you must be careful. If others see what I just saw, they will not welcome you." The girls agreed to keep their powers hidden. Still, Tom could not forget. He lay awake in bed that night, listening to the storm outside, thinking about what he had witnessed. The world felt larger now. filled with mysteries he had never imagined. Over the next few days, Mira and Aaliyah stayed with Tom. They helped him with his farm work, though sometimes their strength and speed startled him. Mira could carry 2 heavy buckets of water without effort. Aaliyah once split firewood with a single strike of her hand. Tom tried not to ask questions, but each display made him wonder more. One afternoon, while Tom was tending to the garden, a pair of townsfolk came by. They were curious neighbors asking about the bright light many had seen in the sky a few nights earlier. Tom kept calm and shrugged. "Must have been a falling star," he said. The neighbors laughed and left, but Tom noticed Aaliyah's sharp eyes following them until they disappeared down the road. She clearly did not trust anyone. Later, Tom asked her, "Why do you look at everyone like they are enemies?" Aaliyah crossed her arms. "Because we are being hunted." Trust is a weakness, her words sent a chill down Tom's spine. He wanted to ask more, but Mira shook her head gently, signaling that the time for truth had not yet come. Despite the unease, Tom began to feel a bond with the 2 girls. Mira's kindness warmed the farmhouse, while Aaliyah's watchful nature made him feel strangely safe. They were different, yes, but they were also lost souls seeking shelter. Tom could not turn them away. One evening after supper, Tom sat with Mira and Aaliyah by the fire. The crackling flames filled the silence. Finally, Tom spoke. "I may not understand who you are or where you come from, but this is my home. As long as you are here, you are safe." Mira's eyes glistened and she whispered, "You are kinder than most." Aaliyah remained quiet, but for the first time her stern gaze softened. That night, as Tom went to bed, he felt both fear and wonder again. The girls were not normal. They were something far greater, something powerful, but they had trusted him enough to stay. And in his heart, Tom knew that this was only the beginning, because in the shadows of the forest beyond the quiet farm, other eyes were already searching. The storm had not only brought 2 strange girls into his life, it had also carried whispers to those who hunted them. Tom's peaceful days were about to end, though he did not yet know how much his courage would be tested. The days that followed were calmer, but Tom could feel a tension in the air. Mira and Aaliyah helped around the farm, yet there was always something restless about them. Mira's gentle nature kept things peaceful, but Aaliyah's sharp eyes never stopped scanning the horizon, as if danger could appear at any moment. Tom tried to keep life normal. He showed them how to milk the cow, how to plant vegetables, and how to mend fences. Mira found joy in learning these simple things. She laughed when the chickens pecked at her feet and asked Tom many questions about the soil and crops. Aaliyah, on the other hand, treated each chore like a battle drill. She cut firewood with precision, repaired tools faster than Tom expected, and never laughed. One evening, Tom noticed Mira staring at the sunset. The sky glowed orange and red, and she looked almost as if she belonged to that fiery light. He asked quietly, "Do you miss your home?" Mira's eyes softened. "Yes, but it is far away. Too far to return." Before Tom could ask more, Aaliyah called from the barn. "We are not safe here." "Others will come." Tom frowned. "Others?" Aaliyah stepped into the light of the fire. Her voice was firm. "Hunters. They are trained to track us. If they find us, they will bring destruction here." Tom's heart grew heavy. He wanted to believe this was just fear, but Aaliyah's eyes carried no lies. "Still," he said calmly, "this is my home. If danger comes, we will face it." That night Tom slept lightly. The warning lingered in his mind. He dreamed of shadows moving through the forest, of glowing eyes watching from the dark. The next morning, his dream became real. Strangers arrived in town. They wore dark armor that reflected no light, and their helmets covered their faces. They spoke little, only asked sharp questions to the townsfolk. People whispered about them, saying they were soldiers from another place, though none had ever seen their kind before. By noon, Tom heard rumors that these armored men were searching for 2 fugitives. His heart raced. He knew at once who they meant. When he returned to the farmhouse, Aaliyah already stood at the door with her arms crossed. "They are here," she said. Tom swallowed hard. "How do you know?" "I can feel them," Aaliyah replied. "Their weapons burn like fire against the air. They will come for us soon." Mira touched Tom's arm gently. "We are sorry. We did not mean to bring danger to your home." Tom shook his head. "Do not say that. You needed help and I could not turn you away. But now if danger comes, we face it together." The girls exchanged a look. Mira's eyes glowed softly with gratitude, but Aaliyah's face remained tense. Later that day, the sound of heavy boots echoed near the farm. Tom saw 5 armored hunters walking up the dirt path. Their black helmets hid their faces, but their movements were sharp, practiced, and filled with menace. One of them stepped forward. His voice was cold. "Human, we are searching for 2 escapees. They are dangerous. Have you seen anyone unusual?" Tom's hands tightened into fists, but he forced his voice to stay calm. "I have seen no one. Only myself, my animals, and the fields." The hunter's helmet tilted as if scanning Tom's face for lies. Then he gestured to the others. "Search the property." Tom's heart pounded. He wanted to stop them, but he had no weapon, no strength against such armored figures. Still, he stood tall. "This is my land. You have no right." The hunter ignored him. 2 of them moved toward the barn and 2 toward the house. Inside, Mira and Aaliyah hid in the guest room. Mira's hands trembled. "They will find us." Aaliyah's jaw tightened. "Then we show them who we are." Mira hesitated. "If Tom sees, he will fear us." Aaliyah looked through the small window, watching the hunters close in. "Better he fears the truth than we all die hiding it." The door burst open. The hunters stepped inside, weapons glowing with strange light. Tom tried to block them, but one shoved him aside easily. Then it happened. Mira and Aaliyah stepped into the open, their eyes burning with fire. Their bodies shimmered as if wrapped in heat waves. Before Tom's stunned gaze, their forms began to change. Wings unfolded from their backs, wide and powerful. Golden scales spread across their skin, shining like armor. Their voices grew deeper, carrying a roar that shook the farmhouse. Tom staggered back, unable to breathe. The girls were not simply aliens. They were dragon girls, beings of fire and might. The hunters did not hesitate. "There they are," one shouted. "Take them alive." Weapons flared, firing bolts of energy. Mira spread her wings and shielded Tom, the blast striking her scales and bouncing away. Aaliyah leapt forward with speed faster than the eye could follow. She struck one hunter with a clawed hand, sending him crashing through the wooden wall. Tom could hardly believe what he saw. His quiet farmhouse had become a battlefield. Mira roared, flames spilling from her mouth, forcing the hunters back. Aaliyah tore weapons from their hands with sharp strikes, her golden scales glowing brighter with each move. Yet the hunters were skilled. They regrouped, circling the sisters, firing blasts from all sides. The farmhouse shook with heat and smoke. Tom, though terrified, grabbed a heavy iron rake and swung it at one hunter who came too close. The weapon bent against the armor, but the strike distracted the enemy long enough for Aaliyah to knock him down. For the first time, Tom felt the fire of battle inside him. He was only a farmer, but this was his home. He would not let strangers burn it down. The fight raged on. Mira's wings shielded Tom again and again. Aaliyah's strikes grew sharper, her roars louder. The hunters began to falter, surprised by the combined strength of dragon girls and a stubborn human. At last, the leader raised his hand. "Retreat," he barked. "We were not told of a protector here." One by one, the hunters pulled back, disappearing into the forest. Their dark forms vanished among the trees, leaving silence behind. Tom leaned against the wall, his chest heaving. His farmhouse was scarred, smoke rising from broken beams and scorched wood. But it still stood. Mira folded her wings slowly, her golden scales fading back into soft skin. Her glowing eyes dimmed, leaving the gentle girl Tom had first met. She looked at him with sadness. "Now you know our truth." Aaliyah remained half-shifted, her scales still glowing faintly. "We are dragonkind, royal blood. That is why they hunt us." Tom stared, still trying to steady his breath. His voice shook. "Dragon girls, I never thought such a thing could be real." Mira lowered her head. "We wish to keep it hidden." "We feared you would not accept us." Tom stepped forward. Though his hands trembled, he placed one on Mira's shoulder. "You trusted me enough to stay in my home. How can I turn away now? Whatever you are, you're under my roof, and that makes you my guests, my family. I will stand with you." For the first time, Aaliyah's stern face softened. She gave a small nod. "Then we fight together." The farmhouse was quiet again, but Tom knew the peace would not last. The hunters had seen the truth. They would return, and they would not come alone. Yet in that moment, Tom felt no fear. He had seen Mira and Aaliyah's true selves, and instead of running, he had chosen to stand with them. A farmer and 2 dragon girls against the galaxy. And somehow, deep inside, he believed humanity's courage would matter more than any scale or wing. The night after the battle was heavy with silence. Smoke still lingered around the broken walls of the farmhouse. Tom sat on the porch staring at the stars with tired eyes. His hands were rough with cuts and his clothes were torn from the fight. Beside him, Mira sat quietly, her face pale with worry. Alia leaned against the doorway, her arms crossed, watching the dark forest as if expecting the hunters to return at any moment. Tom broke the silence first. "They will come back, won't they?" Alia nodded firmly. "Yes, they never stop once they set their sights. Now that they know where we are, they will gather more. Next time, they will come with greater force." Mira's eyes shimmered in the faint light. "We should leave before that happens. We cannot ask you to risk your home again." Tom shook his head. "This is my land. I cannot run from it. If they come here, then we stand together." Alia frowned. "You are brave, but you are only human. Their weapons are strong and they are trained to fight our kind. What can you do against them?" Tom looked down at his hands. He knew she was right, yet something burned inside him stronger than fear. "I may not have wings or scales, but I know this land better than anyone. The forest, the fields, the barns, every stone and stream. If we use that, we have a chance." Alia raised an eyebrow. She wanted to argue, but Mira smiled softly. "He is right. Courage and knowledge of the land can be as powerful as fire. We should trust him." Alia sighed but gave a short nod. "Very well. If we fight, then we fight together." That night they began to prepare. Tom led Mira and Alia through the forest, showing them the hidden paths, the low hills, and the streams that cut through the land. He explained how sound traveled between the trees and how shadows moved when the moon was bright. Mira listened carefully, asking gentle questions. Alia memorized everything with sharp focus, treating each detail like a weapon. Back at the farm, Tom gathered what little he had: tools, ropes, wooden planks, and metal scraps. He built traps and barriers with steady hands. Mira helped carry heavy logs, her strength making the work easy. Alia sharpened farm tools into weapons and tested each trap to make sure it would hold. By dawn, the quiet farm looked different. The barn doors were reinforced. Pits were hidden beneath leaves and tripwires stretched across narrow paths. It was not much, but it was all they had. The following day passed slowly. Tom worked in the fields, though his eyes often wandered to the forest. Mira tended to the animals, humming softly to calm them. Alia sat on the roof, scanning the horizon like a hawk. When the sun set, the hunters came. The ground shook with the weight of armored boots. This time there were more. 10 dark figures stepping out of the trees, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Their leader raised a hand and his voice echoed coldly. "The fugitives are here. Humans, surrender them now and you may live." Tom stepped forward, his jaw set. "This is my home. They are under my roof. If you want them, you will have to go through me." The leader's voice grew harsher. "You protect what you do not understand. Foolish human." Before Tom could answer, Mira and Alia stepped beside him. Their eyes burned with fire. "He understands enough," Alia said, her voice strong. The hunters spread out, moving toward the farmhouse. Tom whispered quickly to the sisters, "Remember the traps. Follow the plan." Then the fight began. The first hunter charged, his weapon raised. Tom pulled a rope hidden under the soil. A pit opened and the hunter fell in, crashing against sharpened stakes below. Alia leapt forward, her body shimmering into dragon form. She slammed another hunter aside, her wings knocking down 2 more. Mira raised her hands toward the sky. A storm began to build above, clouds swirling with unnatural speed. Lightning crackled, drawn by her will. She sent a bolt crashing down, striking a hunter and shattering his weapon. Tom moved quickly, using speed instead of strength. He lured enemies toward hidden snares and swinging logs. He used smoke from burning hay to blind them and rocks to scatter their formation. Though his strikes were not deadly, they slowed the hunters long enough for the sisters to attack with their power. The hunters were skilled, but they had not expected resistance like this. A farmer with clever traps, a storm called from the sky, and a golden-scaled warrior striking like thunder. Their lines broke, their confidence wavered, but the battle was far from easy. The leader of the hunters fought with brutal force. His weapon roared with energy, burning through wooden walls and snapping ropes. He clashed with Alia, their strikes shaking the ground. She roared in fury, flames spilling from her mouth, but his armor held strong. Tom saw Alia being pushed back. Without thinking, he grabbed a burning branch from the fire pit and ran at the leader. The hunter turned, surprised by the human's charge. Tom swung the branch with all his strength, smashing it across the hunter's helmet. The flames blinded the enemy for a moment, giving Aaliyah the chance she needed. She struck with all her power, sending the leader crashing into the barn wall. Meanwhile, Mira's storm grew wilder. Lightning flashed again and again, forcing the hunters to scatter. Her eyes glowed with fierce light as she stood tall, her wings spread wide, protecting Tom from any attack that came near. The hunters began to retreat, their numbers broken, their leader struggling to rise. The cold voice that once threatened now carried anger. "This is not the end. We will return stronger than before." Aaliyah stepped forward, her scales burning with golden fire. "Then we will be ready." The hunters vanished into the forest, leaving behind silence broken only by the crackling of flames and the heavy breaths of the defenders. Tom dropped the burned branch, his body trembling with exhaustion. His farmhouse was damaged again but still standing. Mira's wings folded back, her glow fading as she sank to her knees, tired but alive. Aaliyah stood firm, her eyes still scanning the horizon, but there was pride in her voice. "You fought well, human. Without you, we would not have held them back." Tom smiled weakly. "I only used what I had. This is my land. I could not let them take it." Mira touched his arm softly. "You did more than that. You stood with us when no one else would. You proved that humanity is strong, not only in body but in heart." Tom looked at the two dragon girls. They were powerful, creatures of fire and storm. Yet they stood beside him not as strangers but as allies. He felt something change deep inside him. He was no longer just a farmer on the edge of a small town. He was part of something larger, something that reached beyond the stars. That night, as the three of them sat by the fire in the broken farmhouse, Aaliyah finally spoke in a softer voice. "We told you before that we are hunted. It is true. We carry royal blood of our kind. We refuse to bow to an empire that enslaves others, so they seek to destroy us." Mira added, "But now we have you, Tom, and together, perhaps we can build something stronger than fear." Tom stared into the flames, his hands still trembling but his heart steady. "Then let them come. They will learn what it means when humans fight back." The sisters looked at him, and for the first time both Mira and Aaliyah smiled together. The storm outside had passed, but the war was only beginning. The smoke still hung over the farm when the sun began to rise. The night had been filled with fire, shouts, and the sound of weapons. Now the land was quiet again, broken fences and burned fields showing what had taken place. Tom stood near the barn, tired but alive, his clothes torn and his hands covered in dirt. He looked at Mira and Aaliyah, who had returned to their human-like forms. Their eyes glowed faintly as if the dragon inside them was still awake. Tom had never thought his farm would be the stage for such a battle. He had seen things that felt like dreams. Mira had spread her wings wide, turning the night sky into gold fire, while Aaliyah had roared with a sound that made even armored hunters tremble. Tom had fought too, using his traps, his knowledge of the forest, and his will to protect them. Together they had won. The hunters were gone, fleeing back to the stars. Mira looked at Tom with respect in her eyes. "You are more than we thought," she said softly. Her voice was calm but carried a weight that showed she was not speaking lightly. "Most men would have run when they saw what we are." "You stood with us." Aaliyah stepped closer and gave a nod. "We were afraid of telling you the truth," she admitted. "We thought you would see us as monsters. Yet you saw us as friends. You risked your life for us even before you knew." Tom took a deep breath. His body was aching from cuts and bruises, but his spirit was steady. "I did what I thought was right," he said. "You needed help and I could not turn my back on you. You may not be from this world, but that does not matter. You are living beings who trusted me, and I will not betray that." The girls exchanged a glance, and for a moment Tom saw their hidden bond. They were not just wanderers. They carried a story much larger than themselves. The truth was still not clear, but Tom knew they were more than they had told him. As the morning light grew, the three of them walked across the farm. Tom saw the broken wood, the ruined crops, and the places where fire had scorched the ground. His heart sank. Farming was his life, and this land had been in his family for years. Now it was hurt. Yet when he looked at Mira and Aaliyah, he felt a strange calm. Something told him that this loss would not be the end. Later that day, when the air cleared and the silence felt safe again, Mira spoke at last. She sat under the old oak tree with Tom and Aaliyah beside her. "We must tell you who we are," she said. "We are not only aliens. We are dragonkind, one of the oldest races of the galaxy. Long ago, our kind ruled many skies, but not through conquest. We were guardians of balance. Yet in time, others grew afraid of us. They feared our fire and our wings. Some wanted to control us, others wanted to destroy us. That is why hunters chased us," Aaliyah continued, her voice low but steady. "We are not ordinary dragonkind either. We are of royal blood. Our family led with wisdom. But when we refused to bend to an empire that enslaves others, they turned against us. We fled, seeking a place far from their reach. That is how we came to your world. We thought it was only for a short rest. We did not expect to find you." Tom listened carefully. His hands rested on his knees, his face serious. "So you are princesses of dragonkind," he said. "That is why the hunters wanted you so badly." Mira nodded. "Yes, they hoped to capture us and use us as tools. With dragonkind under their chains, no one would stand against them. But now, because of you, we are still free." Tom felt the weight of their words. He was just a farmer, a man who worked the soil and cared for animals. Yet somehow he had become part of a struggle far beyond his world. He thought of the hunters fleeing into the stars, and he knew they would not forget this night. More might return. Still, he did not regret what he had done. "You do not owe me thanks," Tom said. "I only did what anyone should do. No one deserves to be hunted for being who they are." Aaliyah looked at him with a small smile. "Not anyone would have done it. We have traveled to many worlds. We have seen how fear can turn hearts cold. But here you gave us shelter when we had nothing. You stood when the hunters came. That is rare. That is why we want to stay." Tom was surprised. "Stay with me?" Mira's voice grew firm. "Yes, you gave us a home when no one else would. Now we give you our vow. We will protect this farm, this land, and this town. Any who try to harm it will face us. We may be far from our kingdom, but here we have found something greater than a crown. We have found trust." Tom felt a warmth in his chest. He had always thought of himself as simple, a man of the soil. Yet now two powerful beings looked at him with respect, as if he mattered in their grand story. He realized that humanity, though young among the stars, had something strong within it. Not fire, not wings, but heart. The days that followed were filled with rebuilding. Tom worked with his tools, fixing the barn and replanting the fields. Mira and Aaliyah helped in their own ways. They carried heavy beams as if they weighed nothing. They cleared burned trees with their strength. At night, when the sky grew dark, they flew above the farm in their dragon forms, watching over the land. The people in the town whispered about strange shapes in the clouds, but no one dared to come too close. Slowly, the farm healed. Tom found joy in the work, and he found comfort in the company of Mira and Aaliyah. They were no longer strangers hiding their truth. They were guardians and friends. Sometimes Tom sat by the fire with them and listened to their stories of distant worlds, golden skies and battles fought among the stars. Other times they asked him about Earth, about farming, rivers, and mountains. They seemed to enjoy learning about his world as much as he enjoyed hearing about theirs. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky red, Mira turned to Tom. "Do you ever wish for more?" "To see the stars?" she asked. Tom looked at the horizon and thought. "I never dreamed of it," he admitted. "I thought my place was here, tending the land. But now, after meeting you, I see that the stars are not so far away. Maybe one day I will see them with my own eyes. For now I am happy knowing that the stars have come here." Aaliyah gave a soft laugh. "Then you are already part of them," she said. As the seasons changed, the bond between them grew stronger. The hunters did not return quickly, but the shadow of danger always lingered. Tom knew the Empire might send others, yet he also knew he was not alone. Two dragon girls, once fugitives, now stood as guardians of his home. In the quiet of the night, when the farm rested and the wind carried the sound of crickets, Tom often looked at the sky. He wondered what humanity's place in the galaxy would be. Perhaps one day others would come, seeking Earth. If so, he hoped they would see what Mira and Aaliyah had seen: kindness, courage, and the strength to stand for what is right. The story of one farmer and two dragon girls was only the beginning. For Tom, it was proof that even the smallest life could touch the vastness of the stars. And for Mira and Aaliyah, it was proof that even far from their kingdom they could find a home worth protecting. The world moved on, but something had changed forever. Humanity had gained powerful friends, and dragonkind had gained a reason to believe in humans. Together, they had written a new bond that no empire could break. And so, on that quiet farm under the endless sky, a promise was made. A promise of trust, friendship, and fire that would burn brighter than fear.